All right, everybody, welcome to another edition of this week's Leadership Blend with your host, Ricardo D. Rice. Today we are talking about veterans and houses and getting ready from a seller's standpoint, not from a buyer's, a seller's standpoint. So we have Jeff and Brent. You guys wave to the camera, to the YouTube people.
What's up, guys?
And we're going to go live in a few minutes. So everybody just hang on.
Okay, because I was listening to something on the headset.
Couldn't hear nothing.
Well, I'm hearing this, but I'm not hearing you. But we're talking live to that, so we're live on one thing and live on another. See? So is this going to be like a delay in voice type of thing? Like they'll be hearing on this versus on that if someone was listening to it live? Like if Jeff was to swear, okay,
It's going live. Like this is what I have to deal with on Thursdays. Like and it's always Brent. This is what I have to deal with on Thursdays. Okay.
I like love 860. It's way better than hate 860.
All right, everybody. Good welcome, good morning, good afternoon, all that great stuff. It is another lovely day in Atlanta, GA. I'm your host, Ricardo D. Rice, and it is another week's edition of the Leadership Blend here on Love 860 AM and iHeartRadio. On today, I have very special guests in the studio. They're not new to me, but they're new to you guys. So we have Jeff and Brent in the studio on today. Say hi, guys.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, good morning, everybody. You're looking great today, Ricardo.
I look great every day.
I know.
Okay, I'm going to warn you guys up front. Brent is the sparky one. So that's the one who was just talking. He's the sparky one. Jeff is the very low key. We like Jeff.
Kind of.
Brent, we love Brent on most days. Most days.
We'll see what happens.
All right, so over the weekend, you know how I am about having conversations. Hopefully everyone had a conversation about leadership because it is everywhere. It's around you. It's in your everyday life. You're doing some level of leadership on your day-to-day operations. So today, again, we want to talk about veterans. Today's show is really want to talk about veterans because there are a lot of veterans out there. And if you watch the news, and I'm sure Jeff has statistics on this because I've heard it before, about suicide rates and things of that magnitude. So we want to bring some light to our veterans. So today we're going to tell you how to get into home buying and the great options you have because apparently there are a lot of options for you guys today. So today we really want to talk about veterans and also we're flipping the script today. So we're not looking at the buyer's market, we're looking at the sellers. How do you get your house ready? What you should be looking for? Why do you need a realtor? Things of that magnitude. So we're flipping the script on today. So right now we're going to jump right into it. So I'm going to have these guys introduce themselves, give your full names, and give about your background, where you've been, what you do, things of that magnitude.
Hello, everybody. My name is Jeff Garland. I am a senior mortgage banker with the family mortgage team at Leader One Financial. And I've been in the industry about 20 years now, a little over 20. So I've seen the pitfalls, the ups and downs, and all the trials and tribulations of the industry. I like working with my fellow veterans, are my absolute passion, and I feel like it's my leadership responsibility to train or educate them on the opportunity that they have in buying a home. I mean, not a lot of people understand and realize that a veteran can get into a house and literally have no money out of pocket.
Really?
If it's done correctly, yes, sir. I have a good real estate agent like Brent over here. It all works out just great.
Plug. Plug.
Well, thanks, Jeff, and good morning, everybody. My name is Brent Rittersdorf. You only can call me by Brent, will be fine. And I'm a managing broker. I have an associate broker's license, and the firm I'm with is High Caliber Realty. It's one of the oldest licensed real estate companies in Georgia. Our office is in Kennesaw on Cherokee Street, just outside of downtown Kennesaw. We also have offices in Alaska and North Carolina, soon to be Kentucky. And we specialize in real estate goals that revolve around residential and commercial, and we're proud to work for clients. That's our boss, not a broker. So we're a small company and we work for you to help you achieve your goals.
All right, so let's start with Jeff. So let's talk about veterans. Because I know one day when we had the meeting on Thursday, you went into some statistics about suicide rates and things of that magnitude.
Absolutely.
So what does the landscape look like for a veteran right now, honestly?
Well, when we're talking about veterans, each and every one of us, whether we actually go over and sign, or we actually go over and fight in the wars, Afghanistan, Iraq, and who knows where we may end up. We all sign a dotted line, and we volunteer to protect our country and defend it at all costs. And there's a certain amount of PTSD that comes back with each and every one of us.
All right, we have a
especially
rule
those who've been-
on the show.
Yes,
We
sir.
use acronyms. You have to tell us what the acronym is.
Post-traumatic stress disorder.
I just want to say I knew what that was, but
Okay.
everybody might not know what that is. So when we use acronyms, we have to explain what it is.
All right,
Okay,
well,
carry on.
fantastic. There we go. But it's on average right now, there's 22 veterans per day that commit suicide.
Really?
Yes. And it's just, my passion is to help, if there's any way possible, I can help them avoid going into that feeling of emptiness, loneliness, or whatever that would cause someone to take their life for a, I mean, I feel like it's my responsibility to educate them. I mean, what's wrong with them having a nice place to live and a nice, and if they have an opportunity to not have to pay any kind of money, they don't pay a down payment, they don't pay mortgage insurance. It's really a great program. It's almost like a forced savings program for them. And a lot of them don't understand. We don't get educated like we should, as much as we should. When we're in the military, if I'd have known what I know now, I'd have had a house at every different duty station that I was in, where I was stationed. But I didn't know, and I want to help these guys know and understand that they have that opportunity now.
So at the core, do you think that PTSD is the biggest culprit of why people are taking their lives, or is there other factors that may be involved?
Who knows? I mean, it's such a hard, you've got the traumatic brain disorder, traumatic brain, what's the word I'm looking for? Come on, help me out.
I don't, Brent, jump in.
But anyway, there's a lot of different things that are going on out there with our veterans, and they come back, they live a certain life while they're in the military, and they don't have that guidance, if you will, as we did when we're in. When they get out in the civilian world, they have culture shock.
Yeah, I think I remember you were telling me, Jeff, that there's rules that apply when you're engaging
Right.
and defending your country, and those rules are not the same rules as when you come back.
Right.
And it's very different of what the boundaries that you're supposed to live in, right? That's
Absolutely.
got to create that post
Mhm.
traumatic.
Mm-hmm.
So have you known anybody that's taken their own life or been close to somebody who's gone through that?
I did, as a matter of fact. A friend of mine I was in the Marine Corps with, he walked up into the Rocky Mountains and decided to call it quits.
Really?
And yeah, and they found him 3 or 4 days later, and like I said, that's kind of one of the things that really is a passion for me, is to make sure that if I can help in any way, that a veteran can avoid doing something like that. That's what I want to do.
All right, so let's talk about what it looks like for a veteran to get into this whole process, because apparently there's a different, and I'm sure all of it, there's a standard way to do it, but apparently there's a better way for veterans to do it. So what does that mindset look like? How do they get into it? Tell us how this starts.
If they want to buy a house, what they'll do is typically, well, I have to say this, typically they do it the wrong way. They'll go find a house, and they'll find a real estate agent and start shopping them around, and they don't even know if they're qualified yet or not. So what you should be doing is coming and talking to someone like me, and making sure that you are qualified based on income, debts, and everything else that goes along with it. And then we hook them up with realtors so that they go out and find a house. Now, typically on a VA loan, you're looking at a 620 credit score or better. You can get it done a little bit less, but it's almost like pulling teeth. And
Yeah, we've had a series of real estate, so there are some underlining themes I'm hearing that are the same. So they need to have the ratio to debt thing
debt income
good,
ratio.
all that kind of stuff. So what's different?
Well, the difference is that they're, number one, is no money down when they go to buy a house.
Is that standard, or it's just
No, that's
based on
standard.
credit score?
Standard. No, absolutely. You fought for your country, you have an honorable discharge, you get a DD 214, and you can use that to apply for You go to the VA website.
What's the rule?
Oh.
Brent looked at me and was like, he did it again.
Call on it. Gotta call on DD.
Brent looked like he did it again. What is
214
that?
is your discharge paperwork from the
Okay.
military.
All right, but you cannot be dishonorably discharged.
And
Does that
get
make
the
a
VA
difference?
loan, no, you cannot.
Okay, so let's state that. So you cannot be dishonorably discharged to get this type of loan.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. And when they come in, and we go through the whole gambit of income, checking their income and their debts and things like that, then we also have to check their assets in case they do need some sort of money down. But what we'll do at that time is we just pull the credit, make sure that they understand the comfortability level as well. We want to make sure that they understand that they can, or what their payments are, so that they feel good about being able to make that payment.
Okay.
Jeff, talk real quick about what in your company a pre-certified
Yeah, certified
versus
home buyer program.
pre-qualified is. So what the difference is on that, because that'll be
You
important.
got like 4 minutes.
Okay. Yes, sir. Well, one of the things that my company does is we actually spend the extra money and have our files or have our veterans or anybody that we can do all kinds of different loans. But when you come and apply with us, we will take the time and expend the resources to actually approve somebody based on a to-be-determined property address. So in other words, when we send your file over to an underwriter, they look at it, they verify all of your income, your assets, your debts, and everything that's associated with your loan, so that when we turn you over to Brent in a realtor situation, he can go out and confidently negotiate and get you the house that you're looking for. We make absolutely certain that they're approved well ahead of time.
Is that something special for veterans, or that's just something anybody should be looking for?
Well, here's what's special about it is there are a lot of agents in today's competitive market when it comes to buying houses. Inventory's tight. There's only about 2.5 to 3 months of inventory out there. So you're in competition with a lot of other buyers out there that
yeah,
have lots
I've
of
been
different
hearing
loans.
that a lot.
Right. So there might be competition with a conventional loan, which is a very solid approved loan. There might be buyers that have cash. So when you're competing against those other offers with a VA loan, if that information hasn't been provided to Jeff through complete underwriting ahead of time, that process could take 40 days or longer. So when you're competing against multiple offers, the VA loan offer might not win that offer, even though it might even be better. So to have it go through the complete underwriting process with Jeff can take only 2 weeks or so, 3 weeks or so to get to closing, which makes you a very competitive offer.
Yeah, if we can get somebody to get all of their information, documentation over to us, within a week and a half, I would confidently say that we'll know that you are no doubt approved for up to a certain amount. And you've already been underwritten, so literally, if you go out and find a property, all we have to have is an appraisal and title work, and we close the loan. It's relatively simple, especially if they've gone through our certified home buyer process.
And Jeff, you talked about the knowledge piece to Ricardo earlier, and that's huge as well, because a lot of veterans that come and want to buy their first house, they're relearning their boundaries coming back. They're relearning the process of buying a house. They've just been discharged honorably, so they're going through that. And then they don't even know how to buy a house. They might be relocating from a different part of the country, so they don't know the schools. They don't know the local, people to call for utilities. So they need all that type of help to go through. So it's a huge knowledge, education piece for them.
So, I mean, speaking on that, are there other programs that will prepare them for just the renewing of the mindset of being a civilian that they should maybe consider before they even get into this process? Because I know this process alone for just regular civilians is a hectic process, not let alone someone who's been in Afghanistan for a number of years, who's now coming back to the States and has to reassert themselves into society. So is there other programs that you would recommend for them to get into before they even get into this process?
Well, there's always home buyer education courses that you could take. That'll get you a little bit of a head start. And there's more and more people that are coming out, or psychologists and things like that, that are doing that give veterans an opportunity to talk things out and try to get, at least in their head, ready for the upcoming purchase of a house. It's not an easy process.
It's not, Ricardo, the thing that I do is I just have fun. It starts with a cup of coffee or a beverage of choice and talk about what their goals are. And before we even sit down with the lender or go look at a house, it's just having a conversation. Hey, what are your goals? What do you want to do in a year, 2 years, 5 years? What are your career goals? Let's have some fun. Because the process at that point of looking at houses, you want it to be fun. You're buying your biggest asset. So you want to get to closing, and you want that bottle of champagne and go out and celebrate, and all the stuff that comes with it. If it's not a fun process and it's not going to be something you're going to enjoy, then why bother doing it?
This is true. On that note, we're going to take our first commercial, guys, and when we come back, we'll talk more about veterans, and we'll get into the sellers market. So stick around in the Leadership Blend with your host, Ricardo D. Rice. You got through your first segment, Jeff. You're fine. And I just want to say these two, they hang out together. So
We're
that's why you
live
see them
now.
feed off.
This is still like the meat. This is like the lounge. the
Exactly.
lounge
This is
room
like the
area.
in between. So we throw nuggets out, we laugh, we have fun.
Okay, very
So
cool.
we got through the first segment, guys, and I think Jeff is slightly nervous, and it's fine because Brent jumps in and helps, so it's all good. But your passion is showing, so I love it.
Okay.
Like it's showing that
Good.
you actually are interested. But like you said, have fun. Because we're going to laugh the next couple of segments. Like
That's
I was
good.
getting us through the first one. We're going to laugh the next couple of segments.
Okay, very good.
But you guys, as we were talking about PTSD is one, very serious for veterans. And wasn't my plan to go there today, but we kind of should a little bit because it is a bigger thing. So for all my veterans, is there some place they can go? For if they
VA,
have
the
PTSD?
VA hospital.
Are those in every city in Georgia, or are they in certain places?
There's certain areas. You just look up online and you find it.
Okay, so you definitely want to reach out if you know somebody that's a veteran that's maybe in crises. You definitely want to reach out about that. How long were you in the military?
5 years.
What branch?
Marine Corps.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. And like I said, Brent is the sparky one, so I'm holding him because I know he's ready to get loose. So I'm holding him for a couple more minutes, and then I'll let him get really loose. But again, he's going to be talking about the sellers and how you get your house ready and things of that magnitude.
I'm sitting in a chair too. Normally I like to get up and use the room, so I'm like, they got me in a corner over here.
That wasn't my plan, but it was a good plan. That wasn't my plan, it was a good plan. And again, actually Brent is one of the moderators for Networking Opportunity Weekly, which is the meeting we go to every Thursday for business owners, things of that magnitude. Talk about that real quick.
Yeah, definitely. It's a fantastic opportunity to network. If you're in a profession where you want to expose your business and meet different people, there's usually 30 people that show up. Can I tell them where it's at? It's weekly, 3 p.m. at Andretti's, just on Lower Roswell Road. Check it out.
All right, we're going back from break. All right, everybody, welcome back to this week's edition of the Leadership Blend with your host, Ricardo D. Rice, and my guests, Brent and Jeff, and we were talking about veterans and getting them ready to buy their homes. All right, so let's recap really quickly about what they would need to start the process.
They basically just need to come by my office, whatever. We actually do an online application. They can do that as easy as that.
On you guys' website?
Yes, sir.
What's your website?
Website's www.familygA.com, and there should be a place on there that will link you to our online application. But fill out the application, we'll pull credit and make sure that it all looks good on the surface. Then that's when we'll start collecting documentation to get over to our underwriters and get them completely certified as a home buyer.
Okay, so you said that they don't need money down.
No, they may, if they're going to pay for an inspection, which we highly recommend, everybody gets an inspection done just so that you know the things that could be issues in the future with your house. There's not always going to be, but you'll have yourself a grocery list of things to do for the next 30 years while you own that home.
Oh, sounds like fun.
And
Sounds like fun.
You will have the earnest money too. Remember that
True,
part.
that is true.
That's
They do
part
have
of
earnest money.
the offer, which typically you may get some of that back at closing.
Correct.
But the earnest money is the good faith money that's put down to solidify the offer. So there usually is some cash flow up front for them.
Just for that.
What
Exactly.
are we looking at? Like, what kind of money are we talking about? $1,000, $1,500? I know, and there's no exact amount, but what kind of money should they be thinking
Sure,
about?
1% is a good rule of thumb of the purchase price. So if you're looking at a $200,000 home, $2,000. put down. And a lot of those costs are gonna be covered at closing, so many times in a transaction, if it's written properly, there'll be some money that's actually given back to the buyer at closing.
Right, their earnest money can be refunded back to them.
Okay, I know that in the, I hate to say, I'm not saying normal world, but in the civilian world, I know they have to have money for closing costs and things of that magnitude. Is that the same?
That's part of the negotiations with a good realtor, such as Brent.
That's
He'll be-
right. Yeah, the closing costs can range anywhere from 2.5%, maybe a little bit higher, depending on the purchase price of the house, and those cover your lender's fees, your origination fees, attorneys, all the insurance policies that come with it, and your escrows. So sometimes typically the buyer will pay those selling costs, those closing costs, but if the offer is written properly, we can get some contribution back from the seller to pay those closing costs. And then that helps defray what the buyer needs to bring to closing. So many times, if you write a competitive offer and you get some closing costs on a VA loan, the buyer will get some money back at closing.
So they still need to have some money put somewhere.
Sure, you've
Correct.
got some cash that you got to play the game with. Okay, so when you go to make the offer, let's say that you're going to put 1% for closing costs, 1% for your earnest money. Then you have the right to hire an inspector. And that could cost you $300 to $400, and that means that you're inspecting the home that you're buying, making sure that you're getting a safe home, that you know what the maintenance that's coming into it. And there may be a cost for an appraisal, and
There could be, but-
that depends on the lender.
Uh-huh.
So what's a nice cushion number that they should probably have? I like to give people an idea. So what's a nice
I probably have
cushion number?
$2,500.
That's it?
$2,500.
Okay.
And it's not necessarily that much either. You know, it really depends on the price of the house, because there's so many things that get adjusted based on the loan amount. You know, if you've got a $200,000 property, it's gonna be a little bit more expensive on your closing cost than what a $100,000 property would be.
The thing to keep in mind is there's a timeline. When you meet somebody that's interested in the process, I told you earlier before the break, that cup of coffee or that beverage of choice, I'm going to meet with you. We're going to
Which
have.
I just want to put in there. When he says beverage of choice, he's probably talking about alcohol.
Yeah.
They like to drink. So I just want to toss it out there. And if Keith was here, he'd be talking about chicken wings and beer. So I just want to put that in there as a disclaimer. They like alcohol.
Correct. So beverage of choice. We sit down and we go through that whole process. We talk about those goals, and then I'm going to connect you with Jeff, and Jeff's going to get all your personal information. Once those two conversations happen and we know what we're looking at, then we sit down again and we say, okay, here's what your ceiling is of what you can afford to buy. This is what we're going to shop for. And based upon what you're shopping for, this is the amount of money that we probably are going to have cash flowed between now and closing. So there's three conversations really. There's the pre-conversation about what we're going to talk about, the conversation with the lender, and then the follow-up conversation with me before we go shopping, if you will, to make sure that they know. That way there's no stone that's been unturned, and that the buyer is confident in getting that knowledge about what's going on.
Okay, when I had Nicole on the show, she was either Nicole or Justin, one of the two. They were talking about credit scores and knowing your credit score. And apparently things like creditscore.com give you an idea, but it's still a margin of error that's kind of high. Is that true?
Could be, yes. We recommend people go to myfico.com, and it is going to be a cost, but it's the one that most closely mirror images what we pull as a full residential mortgage credit report.
Okay, so myfico.com
Mhm.
is the better one.
And I think the thing that's important too, from my perspective, is that there's a ton of people in a real estate transaction that need to do a job. You've got a seller, you've got a buyer, you've got an agent on each side, you've got a lender, you've got an attorney, you've got an appraiser, you got an inspector.
Do y'all have all this stuff in-house? Please tell me you have all this stuff in-house. And they just move the process
That's
along,
right.
and we're not going to look for people to do these things?
That's right. The thing that's important to remember though is that everybody needs to do their job, and everybody needs to respect those who are doing their job. So for me, I'm not going to get into the buyers, hey, I need to know your credit score, I need to know your social security number, I need to know all, because the lender's going to do that.
It's my job.
So my job is to negotiate the contract for you so that we get to closing, and I let the lender figure out all the personal information so that they can get the cash. Lender gets the cash, I get you the keys.
All right, so
I like to
let's...
say that I'm the largest creator of debt in the free world.
I think I've heard you say that before, too. I kind of cringed in my seat. I was, oh God, people don't like to hear that.
I'll get the money for you. He'll get the house for you.
You know what? And they work well together, so they're actually telling the truth. All right, so let's fast forward to the end. So we've got to the beginning of the process, in the middle of the process. So when we get to the end of the process and we're getting closer to actually getting the house, what should they be thinking? Like closing costs? What's the thought process before you're like, oh my God, I need to go buy furniture? What's the last thought process
Do
you
not.
have?
Do not go out and buy anything while you're in the process with us. Because what you're doing is you're creating more debt. I mean, now if you've got the money and you're paying cash for it, that's fine. But a lot of people, they'll think, oh well, we've got to go go to Rooms to Go or wherever and get buy new furniture to fill the house, right? Well, we can't qualify you on payments that you've not started making yet, and it can throw a whole big mess. It really mess up.
That delivery truck of furniture is going to be going to their apartment.
Yeah, exactly.
Their house.
I'm about to say, yeah, because that's the exciting part when you start buying furniture and wanting to put pictures on the walls and stuff. So no buying pictures and furniture until you actually signed on the dotted line. That's just the
No
FYI.
financing them.
Exactly. Don't
There you
do
go.
all that unless you can pay cash for it and put it in storage. And hey,
There
that
you go.
could be a plan. But
Right.
all right. So is there any other programs? So we have the VA loan. Is there
Uh-huh.
any other types of loans that they could qualify for that you would recommend?
Well, there's always FHA, conventional mortgage. Conventional financing is typically you're looking at 5% for your down payment. There are programs out there with 3%. And then you've got FHA, which is 3.5% down.
What is FHA?
FHA is Federal Housing Administration.
Again, I know what these things mean. I just want to say so that other people will know.
Well, they give a little bit more consideration to lower end credit scores. So if you're up in the 750 range or 740 or better, you're going to get the best rate possible. There's not going to be the loan level pricing adjustments that we have to deal with if your credit scores are lower. They consider that more of a riskier loan, so they feel that it's justifiable in giving a slightly higher interest rate.
Okay. Sidebar question: is there any area that would give veterans a leg up? Like, is it, of course, it's better to do a VA loan, of course, I'm sure. But when people see a VA loan versus a FHA loan, is there any priority given because they are veterans, or it's just a better way for veterans to go?
Well, number one, they are at present cheaper interest rates. It's about 0.5 point better than what a conventional mortgage is, somewhere between 3/8 and a half, depending on the day. Also, it's a little bit. It's convenient if you can find somebody to buy your house when you go to sell and you've got a 3.5% interest rate. VA loans are assumable, qualifying assumable. Someone can come in an interest rate environment in another few years if rates are all the way up at the sixes, and you've got a 3.5% rate. It's going to put yourself in a pretty good standpoint as far as being able to have another veteran come in and take over that 3.5% interest rate. Very appealing.
Okay.
Are we still on sidebar, or are we back to?
We can be on the sidebar. Right?
Okay, so
It's just for you, we can be on the sidebar.
on the sidebar, what's also good about working with a lender like Jeff, who's local, in a local area, you can, again, it's all about education, it's all about knowledge. So you submit an offer, and the agent on the other side, who is who's listing the house, hey, I want you to put you in contact with Jeff. He's a local lender. He's here. He's following the process. He's already got them completely certified. There's a lot of agents that, frankly, may not have worked with VA loans, and so they don't have the education as well. And so it's not that they don't want to take the offer. It's just that they don't know how to present it to their seller so that they can present it. And it's like, hey, here's a guy who served his country. He's got this great program. He's completely pre-certified. I talked to the lender who's local. He knows what he's talking about. He says we can close in this day. It's a solid offer. And so that peace of mind for the other agent who's presenting that offer to their client, having somebody who's local that can help you versus maybe a company that advertises loans on the internet. You've got to
Let me do
face
air quotes on the
right.
internet. We're doing air
Oh,
quotes
yeah,
on the internet.
yeah. So that's my sidebar.
All right, so final thoughts on veterans and things of that magnitude.
Well, again, I mean, there's so many veterans that get out of the military and they don't understand the opportunity that they have right now. I mean, you look at $100,000, just for numbers purposes, $100,000 house now, next year could be worth 105, all the way up. Who knows? I think the average in Atlanta is somewhere around 6%. So you could go to 6% appreciation. It's a forced savings program for them. So I definitely think that if they have the opportunity, they should take a look at buying a house instead of renting.
All right, so on that note, we're going to go ahead and take our next break. And when we come back, I'm going to unleash the beast. So Brent will get out of the corner and actually tell you about how to sell your house and get ready. So stick around on the Leadership Blend with your host, Ricardo D. Rice. Okay, everybody, I'm getting ready to let the beast loose in about when we come back from break.
Break 2 underway.
Brent is going to start talking about when you want to sell a house, what should you do and things of that magnitude. And he's going to fill some of the gaps from when we had previous guests that talked about real estate. So, all right, so now we're in the little throw nuggets out.
Pressure's on.
So we're going to throw little nuggets out. All right, so Jeff, you said that if you knew now what you knew then, things would be different. Expound real quick.
I would have had a duty study. You know, you can use your VA loan multiple times.
Why you didn't say that on the air? This is why you guys get the great stuff. He didn't even say that on the air. Why don't you say that on the air?
I didn't think about it.
Oh, Lord. So you can use it.
Yes, you can use it over and over again, and you can actually have 2 different VA loans going at the same time.
You have an allotment, right? So you could buy a primary residence and then move into another one and use, if there's an allotment left,
there's a
it
certain
can
amount.
carry over.
Exactly.
That would be nice to know. So you have to say that. When we first come back, you have to say that really quickly so I can let Brent go. But I'm going to need you to say things like that. This is your day today. Yeah, this is your day to say everything you need to say.
Whoops.
Whoops.
Say, how do you forget that? That's the important one.
Well, what happened was you took too long of a sidebar.
I know.
That's your fault. I started when
you
you were like, we're
started
still on the
the
sidebar. Well, sure, Brent, we can still be on the sidebar. Like, sure, we can still be on the sidebar. So we're not blaming me for that.
Ricardo,
Okay.
you take us down a path, and we try to
You know
go
what?
down as long as we can for you. We're doing this for you.
You know, oh yeah, it's for me today. You know, you can. Yeah, so you have to say it when we go on air that they can actually use it
Yeah, I will.
really quickly, so that we can get into Brent, because I'm sure he's brought down. I've never seen anybody write more notes than you do.
I always
Usually we're on Thursdays. So I'm
I
like,
always got
writing.
notes. I always got notes. So this is my Monday list, and by the time I get done, there'll be a whole 5 more pages, and I consolidate it every week.
Okay, everybody, we're back. I was just yelling at Brent because he takes a lot of notes. So really quickly as a sidebar, on Thursdays, which everybody knows, guests like Christina, Keith, Andy, David, we all met at Networking Opportunity Weekly, which meets every Thursday at Andretti's in Marietta. Brett and Christina are actually the moderators, so Brent has a lot of energy, and you have to see him in action. So I was yelling at him because he always has this yellow pad, and on this pad he's always writing. And I never know what he's writing. So now that I'm this close to him, I can see what he's writing. He's writing everything. And I think he just drew a picture of me with I don't know. I feel some kind of way about it.
I think there's this one picture. It's like a drawing, and it's there's a lot of arrows pointing to you. I'm not really sure what that means.
I think I'm being shot like Indian style. Like there's a firing squad. I will deal with him later.
I'll let you know on Thursday.
All right. So while we were on the break, Jeff decided to.
I forgot to mention that one of the things that veterans need to understand is that you don't just get one loan.
Okay, hold that thought. We actually have a caller.
Oh.
So, caller, you're on the air with Ricardo, Jeff, and Brent. What is your question or comment?
Mr. Rice, I've been listening to your show, and I think you have a couple of very interesting guests on, and you're covering a topic that I know is quite timely and needed in our country right now. But I haven't caught the entire show, so forgive me if I'm asking the questions and the answers that we have already given. But I'm wondering, how easy is it for a veteran to get involved in some of these programs to find out the best places to be so that they're connected and in proximity, close to other resources that they may need? Where can they go? Who can they talk to? And how can we get this information out?
Actually, one of the best places to go would be a veteran service organization such as the American Legion. I'm also a 10-year member of the American Legion there in Marietta. So that's a great place to go, and you find out a lot of resources where to contact for your VA benefits as far as health benefits and home buying benefits, all of those things. That's a great question, though. The one thing that I also want everybody to understand is that VA loans, there are a lot of veterans out there that think that they already used their VA loan and they can't get it again. Well, that's not right. You can get as many VA loans as you can. Once you pay one off, you can get another one. You can also have certain allotments, like Brent and I were talking about in the break, about you can have 2 different VA loans at the same time. Depends on what the amount of guarantee you have left after using your first.
Is there some place they can check that, or every time they get ready to use it, the person who's processing will be like, okay, well, you only have this left, XYZ?
There is a VA portal website that they can go to, and I'm not sure exactly. It's va.gov, I believe, and that's where they can go and try and apply for and receive their certificate of eligibility, and that'll give them the numbers that I'll need to be able to tell them how much they can qualify for.
All right.
Well, and to fast forward to, once Jeff gets done with the loan, and we help them find the house, and this is any client, by the way, it's not that we just disappear. We're involved with their lives, forevermore. Jeff will follow up with them on a yearly basis. You never know, loan programs may change. We'll connect them with a financial planner that will review their numbers, periodically and help them invest so that they can hit their next set of goals. And I stay on top of them to make sure that everything's happening well if they want to, if they need to be connected with people, and just check in. So it's not like we just do this process and then they're gone forever.
All right.
We take in touch with them.
All right, so now we're going to switch gears. We're going to unleash the beast. So now we're going to let Brent expound upon, for the last couple of weeks when we did the saga, or when I did the saga on real estate, we looked at it from a buyer's market, what you should do to get ready to buy a house. This week we're flipping it. So what do you do when you want to sell your house? So Brent is going to take over from here, and this ought to be interesting. So everybody hang on to your chairs. Brent, let's start with mindsets. Like where do we start?
Well, what you guys don't realize, Ricardo and Jeff, is there's a for sale sign in front of your house right now. Well, on my way over here, I put a for sale sign out in front. So
it better not have your picture on it. That's all I have to say. It better not have your picture on it.
That's really the biggest thing. Is I meet you, I have a cup of coffee with you, and then the sign just shows up. So that's the biggest thing that can happen.
It's funny because it's probably true. That's why I'm laughing. It's probably true.
Well, we do these network events, and we always say, "Oh, can you go around and thank people for referrals?" And I thank everybody because there's a sign in front of their house every week. So,
and everybody kind of gives everybody this look in the room like he's serious. Y'all know he's serious, right?
Exactly. Now, I think when it comes to selling, we're in an interesting time frame because inventory. Historically, we always have these normals, right? We think about what's normal. 12 years ago, 11 years ago, the normal was not an iPhone. There was no iPhone. So the normal was a regular Android phone or a flip phone.
A flip phone.
Right. Years before that, the normal was the USA Today. That's how people got their information.
Which I still read. I just want to put that out there. I still read.
What is that, like $4 an issue now or something?
Well, no, I read it online.
Okay.
No, but I still read it.
You still read it?
I still read it.
So there's all these normals, and in the real estate world, it was always a normal that there was about 6 months of inventory for buyers and sellers to participate. Now it's about 2.8 to 3.1 months of inventory. There's not a lot of options that are out there. And the number one reason driving that was that in the housing recession, there was about 5 million homes that weren't built.
Oh.
So they just weren't built. So what's driving, now people have the highest level of confidence in probably 15 years. Is the highest level. People are confident that their jobs are going to be there, that their income is going to be there, and they're ready to buy. Plus, you have a lot of millennials that are finally starting to have families, and they're thinking, well, maybe now is the time to start taking that to the next level as well. So when you go to, the problem is when you go to buy a house, there's not a lot of options out there. So it's educating, if you're a seller or a potential seller, is this the right time for you, or is there going to be a time in the future that's right for you? And so there's some challenges there when you're in the selling mode, because everybody thinks that their house is worth a ton of money. It's like, I bought this house and now I'm going to sell it, and I'm just going to put a sign in the yard, and I'm just going to make a lot of money and cash in. And so the first mentality is that, well, why do I even need a real estate agent? Why do I need a realtor? I can just put the sign in my yard and I'll sell it and I'll get the highest and best, and life is going to be good for you. Okay. Well, it just doesn't work that way, because why would you want to do something that's going to be all these people that are involved that we talked about earlier? Why would you want to do that yourself? Why would you want to spend all that money yourself? And I think part of it is we live in this DIY world, this Home Depot world where you can just do it yourself,
Okay.
or I go on YouTube, which this is going to be on YouTube, right?
Yes, you're on YouTube now.
Right,
Actually,
so we go on YouTube, we watch it, and we learn how to do this. And so it's this whole, why do I need to sell my house? I'll just go on YouTube and I'll sell my own house. Well, I could go on YouTube as well and watch a video on how to pull my own tooth as well, okay? Why do I need to go to the dentist? Why do I need to go there?
As a sidebar, I told him not to use that analogy, and he used it anyway.
Right, well,
Because he's used that when we were in the green room. I just want to point that out.
I got the drill in the car, I got the little string, I can make this happen, I watch it on YouTube, we're all good to go. So the biggest competition that's out there when you go to sell your house is the seller themselves. They're their biggest competition because it's a mindset of how am I going to do this, knowing that I'm going to have to spend some money, knowing I'm going to have to do some research, and who am I going to engage to do that research for me, to formulate that relationship so that we have a process. Because see, the process isn't just putting the sign in the yard, all jokes aside. It's about meeting you again for that cup of coffee or beverage of choice and finding out what your goals are. Because if I put a sign in your yard and I sell your house, where are you gonna move to?
For sure.
Where do you want to move to? And so it's important to know, are you buying a bigger house, moving to a different school district, moving out of state, downsizing? These are all important things to know. And so sometimes it's 3 to 6 months, even longer, of having these conversations before you just put the sign in the yard.
Really?
Because it can take that long just to get the house ready to go. I have a document that lets you as a seller to walk your house and give your house a grade of everything from the exterior, the roof, the gutters, the siding, the landscaping, to the interior of the plumbing, the HVAC unit. Do you have a termite bond? To the cosmetic side, to give yourself a grade. And that helps you determine what can I do today or in 2 months or in 3 months from now that takes my marketing price strategy from one point to the other. So if I haven't spent any money in the last 10 years on upgrading my HVAC or my hot water heater or my roof, are these things that I could do today to get a higher price point in 3 or 4 months from now?
So it's not something you should just up and do. You should actually prepare for a couple of months.
You
maybe a
gotta
year.
take some time to think about where it is that you're gonna go and what you're gonna do and get ready to properly market your house. And you can take two approaches. You can take the approach of, hey, I want highest and best for my house, and go and spend the money to get, remodel your kitchen, remodel your roof. Or you can just say, I'm not gonna do anything, keep the money in your pocket, but be
Where you're going to get the best bang for your buck.
be
right?
realistic in how you're going to get that price point for your house. And remember, it's your market price of the house isn't necessarily what the selling price is going to be. So you market your house at a certain price, and you're going to sell it for what the market's going to bear.
All right, so we're gonna have a really quick mock interview with Brent, real quick. So I call you and say I want to sell my house. And we go to have a beverage of choice, which for me would probably be fruit punch. For you, would probably be a beer and some chicken wings, or whatever the case may be. So how does this go?
Well, no, if you're having fruit punch, then I will have exactly what you're having. So it'll definitely be.
I know you, so I don't want you to have fruit punches. I know you don't drink fruit punches. So no, you can have your beer. It's fine. It's whatever.
No, it'd probably be something. So Ricardo, so tell me exactly. I appreciate you getting in touch with me and you said some information. So what's going on in your mind? What's going on in your world when it comes to selling your house? What can I help you with?
I mean, I like my house, but I've decided that I want to go for more room. I have 2 bedrooms now, 2 baths, and I actually want to move up to 3 bedrooms and 3 baths. So my house isn't really suitable for where I want to go in life. So I'm looking for someone to help me sell my current house.
And what do you? And today is November 6th. And what date do you want to see that come to fruition? If you had to pick a date in the future.
Well, I'm in love. So I want to sell this house before Valentine's Day.
You want to sell the house before.
I'm in love and I want to
Valentine's Day.
sell before Valentine's Day.
And do you need to sell your house before you buy another one? Have you had a conversation with your lender?
I have not, but
Okay.
that is the preference, that this house be gone out of my charge before Valentine's Day.
Okay, great. So what I would suggest that we do is let's take a time frame and let's back up. Let's take the calendar. Okay, so we've got Valentine's Day, which is not a holiday. Maybe it's a holiday for you, but
It's a holiday for me, so I need you to recognize that it's a holiday for me.
okay, it's a holiday for you.
It's a holiday for me.
So we've got other holidays coming up. We've got Thanksgiving, we've got Christmas, we got New Year's. So we essentially have 3 to 4 weeks where We're not going to necessarily be, heavy marketing out there as far as buyers hitting it. So we probably need to start, having that conversation sooner than later and walking through your house. I've got some time next week. When can I take 10 minutes just to walk through your house? And let's walk and we do this document together and put together a plan.
Next week, probably Wednesday would be good.
Wednesday?
Wednesday would probably be good.
Not Monday because you're doing
I have
a
a radio show. So I have a radio show on Monday, so Mondays really aren't that good for me. We can try Wednesday. And I have a very important meeting on Thursday, so I can't do Thursdays
That's
either.
right,
There you go,
Thursday.
yeah.
Maybe the meeting is important, but it's always the meeting before the meeting and after the meeting that's even more important.
On that note, we're going to take our last break. So everybody stick around on the Leadership Blend with your host, Ricardo D. Rice. I can't with you. I cannot with you. This is. I will not with you.
I think the one thing that we'll talk, if I got two things I can bring up.
Yes.
The one competition is, I want to talk about new construction.
Okay.
That is the fact that when people are thinking about selling their house, the fact that we didn't have a lot of new construction for years, well, we're starting to have a lot more of it now. So the longer you do it, you're going to be in competition with those new homes that are being built.
I actually started to ask you about that when you were talking about inventory.
Yep. And the other one is the emotional attachment. And I'll go there at some point.
We also gonna throw out little, our hearts going out to the Texas.
Yes, actually, I should start with that. I know we start with that.
Wow.
Too
That was a shame.
Yes, for those that don't know, there was another mass shooting in Texas, so we are having moments of silence for that. We've got to talk about gun control at some point. We've got to. Hopefully that is on Congress's and the President's mind because it is getting serious now. It's almost to a point where it's happening too frequently. I think this was a church, wasn't it?
Yes.
Was.
This was a church, another church.
You know what? It's interesting, and this is how people are starting to think. They had an interview with one of the girls, with a younger girl. She was probably in her teens, and this was just several hours, and the mindset was like, well, we're going to be better, and we're going to be stronger, and all this. But it was heartfelt, but it almost looked normal. I mean, people are today. This is the normal of what these
Yeah.
what
We're
people are
fast
growing
approaching
up.
normalcy like this.
Like seems like every week it's like, okay, well, what city is going to be next? And it's not normal for me, but for someone who is 15, 16 years old that sees this every day now on
Yeah.
social, that's their normal.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
it's a scary thought, and millennials adjust so quick that it'll become normalcy before we know it, and nobody will be thinking about it. So we're hoping we won't get to that place where human life will almost become not a big deal.
I thought that when the caller called in, I thought it was Keith.
All right, everybody, welcome back to this week's edition of the Leadership Blend with your host, Ricardo D. Rice, and my special guests, Brent and Jeff. And when we left, we were getting into the seller's market. How do you sell your house? How do you get ready? So I'm going to let him go right back into it.
Right, sure. So we did establish though Valentine's Day is your favorite day of the year so far.
Okay, well, I didn't say, in the example, I personally hate Valentine's Day. Because I'm usually single, so I hate Valentine's Day. But for all intents and purposes, for the example, yes, Valentine's Day was my goal.
Well, so Valentine's Day is a very emotional day for a lot of people. And so real quick, we'll talk about the emotions of selling a house. One of the questions that I always ask every seller is on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 low, 10 high, what is your level of detachment? And not only your level, but everybody else that's living in the house, the kids, the family, what is your level of detachment? Because I firmly believe that if you're not at a level 8, 9, or 10 detachment, then a buyer can't attach. So and I know it's very intrinsical, but if you as a buyer walk into a house and you don't feel like there's been any progress being made, or that somebody's holding back, or that the kid's got one of the doors locked shut that I can't get into, then those are barriers. And so every time if a buyer can't attach to a house, then it's going to be that much longer for a seller, and seller to be able to sell it. So the level of detachment, that's like the number one question I always ask, and it might be up front, it might be towards the end, but after talking to you, like we did that mock role play, the last question I'm going to say is, what's your level of detachment? Because if you're at a level 1, 2, or 3, we probably need to wait a year, truthfully, and say, wait till you guys are ready to go. Because
how do you speed that process up? What if somebody says, I'm attached to this house, but I really have to get rid of this house? So what would be your advice?
We need to bring in other people. We may need to bring in a stager. We may need to bring in somebody who specializes in junk removal, or there might be some hoarding issues. There might be maybe somebody lost a spouse, and they need to go through some grief counseling. There's all these different types of sources that they can go out there, but it's not going to hurt them to keep the house for an extra few months in order to get through that process to get to wherever they need to go. But if they're my job is to help market the house and negotiate, most importantly, negotiate on your behalf the contract. I can't negotiate on your behalf the contract if I don't have a contract to negotiate. So if the seller has unrealistic expectations about the listing price or unrealistic expectations about their level of detachment, it's going to be very difficult for me to even get to the point where I can do the job. Yeah, we can joke around all day long. I'll throw the sign out in your yard, no problem.
I'm telling you, I'm laughing because I believe you actually do it. That's why I'm
I
laughing.
will. It's out there. I got one in the truck right now.
Oh, good Lord.
So that's the level of attachment. And do I have time for one more?
Yeah, my question is, do you have an exorcist on file? Because somebody may have to come in and remove the curses from the house to be able to, help these people move on.
I would probably suggest that maybe we could watch the movie The Conjuring or something. And they could probably.
That is the one thing I'm not willing to watch YouTube to learn how to do. I'm good. I will pass on that. I watched Charmed and Buffy and all that stuff, and I like it, but I'm not really willing to get into it.
Oh, so you know the vampire movies, right?
Yes.
What the Twilight movies?
Yes.
Okay, so you can't attach. You can only have one.
Oh, good
fire
Lord! Are we really,
attached
the
at one
imprint?
time.
Are we really going to the?
You know.
Moving along to your next point. What is your next point, Brent? What is your next point?
So we talked about competition. Okay, we talked about how 5 million homes weren't built over a several-year period of time.
We did, but we didn't.
Right.
So you have to go back into that.
Well, in new construction during the recession, there was so many homes that weren't built nationwide. It's about 5 million. Well, homes are being built now. Confidence level is higher. If you're a seller and you're thinking that, okay, I want to sell my house, and and you're in a neighborhood where there's new homes getting ready to come up and whatever, you might want to think about accelerating your selling time frame. Because if you have a house that's 10, 15, 20 years old, it's got some deferred maintenance, roof, maybe hasn't been updated, you wait till those other 7 or 8 houses around you have been built, now you're in competition with those other homes.
And that's not good. You
Well,
just stated our home.
Right. So let's just take a $350,000 price point, and you think that your house might be worth $290,000 or $300,000. Well, if I've got a VA loan coming up and Jeff can get me that allotment for $350,000 brand new construction, or versus that same VA loan for $290,000 in a house that's 15 years old that I'm gonna have to spend some money out of, which one would you want to go for when you go to buy your new house after we sell it on Valentine's Day?
But I love new and shiny, so I'm probably more prone to go to
Right.
new
So
and shiny.
if you're a seller and you think that you might be thinking about selling, and you start seeing like little, green and white pipes coming out of the dirt that they've excavated, that means there's some new construction that's going to be competition for you.
Or your house is cursed and the dead are trying to rise.
Yes.
Either or.
So it's when you go to buy a house, it's a fun process because you're buying it from an emotional standpoint. This is where we're going to spend the time raising a family or living or whatever. When you go to sell a house, it's a business. And based upon how well you've managed your business over the course of time, keeping it up, maintaining it, all of those types of things, is how well you're going to sell your business down the road. So, you have to think about the emotional balance of buying your house, but knowing that it is a business, and at some point when you go to sell it, what you've done along the way to maintain your business will be critical when it comes time to marketing it.
All right, so when I have the idea of selling my house, is the first thing I should do get it appraised, or should I find somebody to sell it, like a realtor? Which would be a better option?
Yeah, I'm all about keeping the money in your pocket. Yeah, I don't like to spend
That's
your
good
money.
too.
Right, I don't like to spend your money. I'll spend it for you if you want me to, regardless.
I'm about to say, I like spending money, so hey, let's go for it.
My goal initially would be to keep the money in your pocket and don't do an appraisal unless you have a very unique piece of property where there's not a lot of different types of comps. But part of the conversation that once I go in and look at your house that next Wednesday or whatever, we take 10 minutes.
Wednesday at 2 o'clock.
Wednesday, 2 o'clock.
Wednesday at 2 o'clock.
I'm going to take a look at your neighborhood, and I'm going to take a look at like houses around your neighborhood, and then even at 1 or 2 or 3 miles around, and try to get an idea and sense as to what's sold back in there. One of the challenges in our industry is that we have to go off of what happened in the past to determine a price point that you're going to list in the future. Right, so it's a little bit of a guessing game, but we've got a lot of tools in place to help us make educated guesses. And you want somebody that's having a broker's license. It's the highest level of education you can get in the real estate industry. It's important to be able to know that that person who's doing it full time, by the way, it has the time to look at those different types of comps, make those comparables, and then after that 10-minute walkthrough, we can sit down again and say, hey, listen, Ricardo, based upon what I see in your house, based upon what I see in your neighborhood, what's selling, you could do this and market your price for this, or you could do that and market your price for this, and we could hope for a selling price somewhere in the meantime, staying in your time frame. Because you want to sell by Valentine's Day.
Valentine's Day.
If you told me that your time frame was July, well, we might have a different approach, right? We have more time.
Yeah. But it's not, so I don't want to sell a house before July the 4th, so quit trying to sell me on that, because it's not going to happen.
Well, again, like I said, the sign's already in the yard, so we get skipped forward through Wednesday.
Fine, but your picture can be at the top, but I want my picture at the bottom.
Okay.
It's my house, so I want my picture at the bottom.
Oh,
so
and I
people
got
know.
the buyer. I mean, Jeff's already getting them pre-qualified. So
That's right. We can put Jeff's pictures on. We can have 3 pictures on this sign. 3 pictures on the sign. I think it works for me. All right. So we have about 2 minutes left. So final thoughts that you want to leave to everybody about this, and how to get in touch with you.
Yeah, you can get a hold of Brent. Simply, you can look me on Facebook, Brent Rittersdorf, or Brent at highcaliberrealty.com. High Caliber, CALIBER, realty.com. Send me an email. I'd be more than happy to answer any questions that you have. I thought it was good. I love talking about my business and having the fun along the way. And I love to hear the passion when Jeff speaks about helping veterans and helping people that served our country. And
It's very passionate.
yeah, I've actually had a couple of offers where there was some hesitation on the offer, and I said, well, if you'd like to help somebody who served your company buy a house, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Jeff. Final
Well,
thoughts.
you can always reach me at 404. I apologize. 678-483-3300, and my email is jeffgarland at leader1, and it's the number 1.com. And if you want to give me a call, I'll be more than happy to talk to you. Especially, again, I want to work with every vet that's around. I want them to understand and realize that it is an opportunity that they have, and they should be able to take advantage of it as quickly as they possibly can.
All right, everybody, and as you know, if you forget the names and faces, go to my website, www.ricecommunity.com, Rice with a W, because I'm special, and you can see all this information, and you can go on my YouTube page at The Leadership Blend and Facebook Live. I'm everywhere, so there's no excuses anymore. I'm everywhere, but I will see you guys next week, same time, same place, on The Leadership Blend with your host, Ricardo D. Rice.
Virtual Ricardo.
All right, everybody. Thank you for tuning in again this week. Thanks to my special guest, Jeff and Brent, for coming in. I will see them again on Thursday, where Brent will not be in the corner. He'll be in the front of the room, acting a fool, because it's what he does best. Give me a couple of hours or two. This will be up on the YouTube channel for everybody to watch. And everybody say goodbye to YouTube.
Hey, guys.
Bye.
Have a great day. Thank you.